Chapter 13, Palms. The number of palms adapted to house culture is very limited, but they comprise the most elegant of the decorative plants. Although popular now, they would be much more widely used if their culture were better understood. Mistakes made in handling palms are serious in results, for they produce for the most part only 2 or 3 new leaves in a year, and so any injury shows for a long time. It is not soon replaced by new growth and forgotten, as with many of the more rapid-growing houseplants. Nevertheless, if the few cultural requirements of palms are carefully attended to, they are as easily grown as any plants and yield a solid and lasting satisfaction. The house palms, as I have said, grow very slowly. It is not only useless, but dangerous to try to force them into unnatural growth. Palms do best when restricted as to root room. When your plant comes from the florist, do not get impatient after a month or so and then think that a larger pot would make it grow faster. Repotting once a year while palms are growing, and not so frequently as that after they are in 8 or 10-inch pots, will be sufficient. The best time for repotting is late spring, May or June. Use a pot only one size larger than that in which the palm has been growing. Remove carefully, do not disturb the roots, and put into the new pot carefully, ramming the new earth in firmly about the old ball with a thin piece of wood. See directions for repotting, page 40. The soil for palms need not contain as much humus, that's leaf mold or peat, as that for most other houseplants. Good rich garden loam with sharp sand added and bone meal worked through it will be right. Be sure the drainage is perfect. Crock the pots carefully. See facing page 41. If any of the crocking from the old pot comes out with the ball of earth, remove it as carefully as possible and fill in the space with soil. After potting, keep shaded for several days. While palms require plenty of water, no plants are more fatally injured by overwatering. Above all, must care be taken never to let water accumulate in saucers or jardinières in which the pots are standing. Water will soak up through a pot as well as down through it, and water-saturated soil will quickly become sour. When you do water thoroughly and then see that the pots are kept where they can drain out, and do not water again until they show a tendency to get too dry. Much water will cause the leaves to turn brown. In this case, change the treatment at once. The looks of the leaves can be somewhat improved by cutting them to shape with a pair of scissors. The amount of water required is much greater in summer than in winter, when the plants are practically at rest. Direct sunlight is not desirable for palms, but they should have plenty of light. Do not stick them away in a dark corner or an inner room and expect them to do well. They will stand such a situation several days without injury, but should be brought back to the light as soon as possible. They do well in north windows, providing the temperature of the room is high enough. Remember, however, that pots kept in a shady place will dry out much less quickly than those in the light or sunlight. If they are to be kept permanently where the sun does not strike, it is a good thing to add charcoal to the soil, as this aids greatly in keeping it from getting sour. Give plenty of air. The more the better, so long as a proper temperature is kept up, as that counteracts the effect of the more or less poisonous atmosphere of living rooms kept closed during winter. Beware of drafts blowing across the plants, but provide plenty of fresh air. In the spring, as soon as it warms up outdoors, say after the apple blossoms fall, plunge the palms outside in a sheltered position where they can be given plenty of water. At this time, if they are not repotted, bone meal should be worked into the surface of the soil and a liquid manure of bone meal given once a month or so during the growing season. Both during winter and summer, shower the leaves frequently with as forceful a stream as possible to prevent scale and mealybug getting a start. For treatment, see page 135. Keep the leaves and stems clean by wiping off every once in a while with a soft cloth and soapy warm water, syringing with clean water afterwards. The best houseplants. Although the number of palms cultivated is very large, very few indeed, only about a dozen, will give satisfactory results in the house. The fact that a palm will live, or rather, takes a very long time to die, under abuse, has misled people into thinking that they do not need as much care as other houseplants. This is a mistake. Palms may be considered in two classes, the fan-leaved and the feather-leaved, or deeply cut sorts. Of the former, there are but three sorts good for house culture. Latania bourbonica, the Chinese fan-leaved palm, is the best known. It is one of the hardiest, standing a temperature as low as 45 degrees at night. It is broad in habit, and the large leaves are deeply cut and drooping at the edge, making a very attractive plant. Livistona rotundifolia, the miniature fan palm, is a more compact type of the above, not only the leaves but the whole plant being round in habit and growing quite dense. It is a beautiful, lively green in color, and making a neater plant is in many ways more desirable for the house than Latania bourbonica. It requires more warmth, however, and should be kept up to 55 degrees at night if possible. Chamaerops excelsa has the distinguished feature of forming shoots at the base, thus having foliage where most palms are bare, and in old specimens unattractively so. Its leaves are shaped like those of bourbonica, but are smaller, and the leaf stalk, in proportion, is longer. It is a good strong variety. The feather-leaved palms. Many of these are of more recent introduction than the old favorite fan palms, but they have won their way to a growing and deserved popularity. Phoenix robelinae is one of the newest. It is destined, I venture to say, to become the most popular of all palms for the house. It has frequently been described as having the beauty of Weddelliana and the hardiness of Kentia. That perhaps describes it, but does not do it full justice. It has several times the amount of foliage that Coco's Weddelliana has, and is a more robust grower. It has, unlike that palm, leaf stalks growing all the way to the bottom, the lower ones gracefully recurved and the upper ones spreading airily. It is very easily cared for, and on the whole wins on a larger number of counts than any other house palm. Phoenix ropicola has gracefully arching, drooping foliage and is very handsome, the dark green leaves being even more feather-like than those of Cocos weddelliana. It is also one of the hardiest. Areca verscafeltii is unique in having a creamy-colored midrib. It must be given the best of care, but will well repay any extra pains taken with it. The Kentias, K. belmoriana, the thatch-leaf palm, and K. forsteriana The curly palm are the hardiest of all the house palms and sure to give satisfaction. The former is of dwarf, sturdy habit, with broadly divided dark green leaves borne up well on stiff stems. K. forsteriana is of stronger growth, spreads more, and the divisions of the leaf are broader. Cocos wedeliana is the most artistically graceful of the house palms. The finely cut, feathery leaves spring well up from the pot and from the slender, erect stem. It is a small palm and grows slowly. I think I should give it a place among the 3 choicest palms for the house, although unfortunately it is not as hardy as some of the others. It is the best palm to use as a center for fern dishes. Seaforthia elegans, the Australian feather palm, is a tall, growing, and stately variety which does well in the house. Caryota urens is commonly known as the fish-tail palm, and on account of that distinguishing characteristic deserves a place in any good collection. It is a large growing sort and will utilize more root room than most of the others. It is not so strong as most of the others described, but will succeed well if precautions are taken not to let it get chilled in cold weather.